internationally recognized expert in integrative medicine, dietary supplements, herbal medicine, women's health, and natural medicine. Joining me to talk about nature's best remedies, top medical herbs, spices, and foods for health and well-being, published by the National Geographic with the foreword by my guest today, Dr. Tieraona Lodog.
Thank you for having me.
So, for those of us that don't know, can you please explain to us what integrative medicine is?
Absolutely. The term integrative medicine was actually coined by my colleague, Dr. Andrew Weil, quite a few number of years ago. Integrative medicine is really taking the best of all the different approaches that we have towards health and healing without, disparaging one over the other. So integrative medicine, we teach our physicians about nutrition. We talk to them about dietary supplements. What does vitamin D do? We teach them about meditation and mind-body strategies and how this can help patients, especially with stress. So what's beautiful is that we take everything we've learned in Western medicine in our conventional training and we add to it. So integrative medicine is really a broader way of thinking about the person, the whole person, the person who has the problem instead of just focusing on the problem itself.
I think it's amazing. I've been reading up on you and listening to all the interviews that you've done and reading some of the books that you've written, and I'm just amazed. It's just for people that don't follow this, and the book that you forward, National Geographic's Nature's Best Remedies, Top Medical Herbs, Spices, Foods for Health and Well-Being. What a beautiful book filled with so much information.
It is. A classic National Geographic as well, so it's absolutely stunningly beautiful put together. And then lots of information that is really practical for people to use, everything from, how to get more out of the spices that you use to, how to make your own cleaning, things at home with simple ingredients, what you can do with vinegar and salt. I mean, it's a great book for people who are trying to learn how to integrate more natural remedies and natural products into their lives and doing so safely as well as effectively.
Oh, just reading through it, even chapter 1, the remedies for common physical ailments. And there's relief for joint pain, headache relief, upper GI tract. There's so many things and easy things. Things that we probably have in our house that we don't even know that we can use. Exactly.
And what's fascinating was that your grandmother and your great-grandmother probably did.
Right.
Right. It was not that long ago. It was not that long ago that people actually did know how to use a lot of things that they had around them for a lot of the minor aches and pains and problems that they had. I remember being a kid and my grandmother taking sage, just out of the cover sage, and she made a tea out of it and put a little salt in it, and then she told me to gargle with that whenever I walked through the kitchen because I had a really bad sore throat.
Right.
And I'm gargling and with this sage, and it worked so well. But I was a kid. I was maybe 6, 7 years old. And in the 2000s, there were a couple of studies published actually looking at sage as a gargle for acute sore throat, for acute pharyngitis. And they found that sage was highly effective for sore throat. And when you combined it with echinacea, it was equivalent to lidocaine and chlorhexidine as an anesthetic.
Wow.
I mean, so think about that. How did my grandma know?
How did she know? I always tell my kids, gargle with salt water.
Yes, and gargle with salt. Salt itself is very good for helping with sore throat. Sage, when you take sage, the stuff you probably bought to put on your turkey 2 years ago, it's still sitting in your pantry. That sage is a powerhouse anesthetic for the throat. And that somehow people figured that out a long time ago, but now there's actually randomized controlled trials that show it is highly effective. Fascinating to me.
Really fascinating. And you mentioned vitamin D before. So important.
Well, vitamin D is so important. And, I think that vitamin is a little bit of a misnomer because vitamins are actually things you're supposed to, get into your diet through your diet because you can't make them yourselves. And vitamin D was not intended to be obtained really through your diet. It's hard to get in your diet. You're supposed to get it from being out in the sun. But let's face it, most of us don't labor in the fields anymore. We're not outside. And most of us wear sunscreen.
Right.
And so we're not getting a lot of vitamin D through our skin. And it is very important to make sure that we are getting some vitamin D supplementation just to ensure that we're getting adequate levels, especially during the winter months when it's hard to get vitamin D just because of the angle of the sun. A little thing you may not realize is the British Medical Journal in 2017 came out with actually a large meta-analysis or a large review of the clinical trials and found that if you're low in vitamin D and you take vitamin D supplementation, it reduces the number of respiratory infections you get during the winter months. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal because respiratory infections and the flu kill more than 2.5 million people around the world every single year.
Amazing. If you just tune in, I'm talking to Dr. Lodog, an internationally recognized expert in integrative medicine, dietary supplements, and women's health. Okay, so how do we achieve major results with minor alterations to our food choices?
Well, I think that, if you follow a couple rules, half the plate should be vegetables, right? And then a quarter of the plate should be your protein, and then you can have some whole grain if you choose. But in America, we've really gone way down the path of consuming a lot of highly processed food, highly processed foods that also contain an incredible amount of added sugars. Just the amount of sugar that is added to our diet. And that additional fructose, whether it's high fructose corn syrup or it's table sugar, which is half fructose, that much fructose is just really hard on the body, and it's hard on your liver particularly. And so some of the simplest things that you can do is really just try to return back to, whole foods as much as possible, flavoring them with herbs and spices and not just salt, ketchup, and mustard, which is we all grew up this way. And so trying to use more spices in our diet, which are antioxidants and anti-inflammatories, and as much as possible, foods that are as whole as they can be. I think we consume too many grains, too many processed foods, and way too much sugar.
I agree. And our environment and how we live our life affects us completely, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And part of the book, The Nature's Remedies, also tries to tackle just greener ways of trying to clean things around the house, trying to minimize the amount of phthalates and BPA that would be found in, a lot of phthalates are in fragranced body products. So how can you make some of these things on your own at home, and how can you begin to change the diet and change the environment in your home as much as you can? It's a lot harder for you to change air quality or the water that's piped into your house, even though you can use filters, But there are a lot of things that you can do as far as what kind of skincare products you use for yourself and your family, and what kinds of foods you buy. Are they free of pesticides? Are they low in pesticides by purchasing organic? And also, are they free of artificial flavors and colors? I just am shocked when you realize that there's more than 78,000 chemicals in our environment.
Oh, wow.
And we have safety data on fewer than 1,000.
Wow. Essential
Think
oils
about that.
and how to pick them.
Yeah. So I think it's just pardon me?
Essential oils and how to pick them.
I love essential oils. Very simple. You have to be careful with essential oils now. You don't want to use these internally, right? Most of these are for topical use, and you want to make sure you dilute them down. Don't use them undiluted. But we give you some great examples in the book of how you can use essential oils as a mister or fragrance for your house, right? So you can spray it in the kitchen and in the bathrooms. We also talk about how you could add essential oils to oils and use them as body oils instead of using things with artificial fragrances in them. So essential oils are, they can bring aroma to your house. You can buy an inexpensive diffuser and diffuse these into your home. You know, I use them in my office, rosemary and eucalyptus, et cetera, during the cold and flu season, and people comment on just how much they love the aroma. But also that rosemary and eucalyptus are antiseptic oils, so they help with cold, flus, and viruses that are floating around our doctor's offices. So you can bring those same things into your own home with a simple diffuser.
I love all these ideas. The book, it talks about all that too. It says like eucalyptus, treat wounds and burns, colds, muscles and joint pains and mental exhaustion. There's so many great ideas throughout this book. I couldn't stop flipping through all the pages. I didn't even know where to start. I have to tell you, Dr. Road Dogg, I'm fascinated, and I was following about your regimen, what you do every day, and I'm going to try to live my life like that too.
Well, I think people will love the book, Nature's Best Remedies. It's out. You can get it now, and I think people will love it.
I already love it, and I'm going to give one away on the show as well. And I think, what do you find, if you were to peel away pieces from people who come to see you, what would you find? Peeling away pieces from what do you see? What would you see?
Well, in all honesty, what I find mostly when people come see me are people that are very stressed, very tired, kind of overwhelmed with their lives and the busyness of their lives. And that manifests in lots of ways, either through feeling kind of anxious and not sleeping well, or through gut issues, or, physical issues. Just they hurt, they have aches and pains, irritable bowel, headaches. And a lot of times when I really do get down to it, it's a life makeover. I mean, that's a lot of what it is. It's like, how do we begin to help you take back and claim your own life so that you're more resilient? And for many people, that's really listening to them, having a conversation with them, listening to their story, and helping them to begin to take small steps towards living a better life. And I'm really honest. I think there's a lot of stress. People feel a lot of stress, and they don't know how to manage it. And, Ativan, Xanax, and antidepressants are not the only answer out there for those problems.
I like how you talked about, in listening to some of your interviews that you did, sleep is so important. Take time away from your phones and the computers and the outlets. And if you need to take that 20-minute nap, take that 20-minute nap because your body's telling you need it.
It's so important.
You get 7 hours of sleep every night, right? And you say you make your dinners earlier so you can, be in bed by 10 o'clock.
Yes.
I'm going to follow Dr. Low Dogg. I'm going to let you know next time you're on. I'd love to spend an hour with you because there's so many questions to ask. So many questions and so many things. I find it fascinating what you do.
Thank you.
So everyone should go out and get the National Geographic's Nature's Best Remedies. It's out there now. Top medical herbs, spices, and foods for health and well-being. The forward is by Dr. Low Dogg. The book is beautiful and filled with so much good information for our health and our well-being. Thank you so much.